And the thing is, I do believe there was talk about these things. I believe if we study history, the Confederates were able to shoot pterodactyls, back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online.
Google it
They
yourself.
spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, they spread this thing out, and it's got a huge winglet. It was a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so,
what I'm saying is Jesus wrote a dinosaur to work. That's history. It's in the Bible. How to Train Your Dragon.
Historical facts.
And if you don't believe it, do your own research. Pull up Google. You'll find the picture, I promise.
Oh my god.
Thank you, John Gleason, Godless engineer, for gifting me this beautiful moment. Y'all remember when they tried to cancel Steven Spielberg for posing with an animatronic triceratops animal rights activist?
Back it up.
Hit it from the back.
Cloaca. Historical facts.
Eat my ass, BP. You're down here bailing on the rest of us because you don't want to process your grief and shame like a normal person by drinking and mistreating strangers.
No, Rick. It is you who must nibble my cloaca, or bird asshole.
Everyone knows what a cloaca is.
back in the Civil War, and they spread these things out. Anybody can look it up online. They spread these things out, and this is a historical fact. So, they spread this thing out, and this has got a huge winglet. It was a pterodactyl they shot. So, of course, these things have been around. Now, they went extinct, obviously, slowly, but surely. And so,
Paul Bunyan was sharing some Funyuns with his pet velociraptor.
Whoa.
Oh, you thought it was an ox? Roll back the clock. Let me knock the socks off. Historical facts.
I didn't cut out. You heard me. Are you a pervert or something? Okay.
What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? And yes, I am a pervert or something. I'm the Godless Engineer, and I critically analyze apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Tonight, we're taking a look at a video from Darwin to Jesus, and they are going to be laying out 3 reasons as to why Christians should start refusing to give atheists evidence for their beliefs. Very interested in why Christians should stop giving evidence. Like, just in general, the whole idea of not giving evidence for the things that you believe in when you're directly engaged in a conversation about the things that you believe in. I'm very interested as to why you shouldn't provide evidence and just baselessly claim shit. Very interested in that. If you are interested in that kind of bullshit, then I hope that you will stay tuned to find out why you... Sorry, that's not the thing. If you want to fuck around and find out why you should refuse to give evidence for your beliefs, then please stay tuned. Alright, heathens. Well, tonight we do have a full slate, so we got some news to go over. Every single news item, though, does have a video with it, so we're going to try to power through that relatively quickly. And then we've got some comments to go through. Brocephus is going to stop by and explain scoliosis to us. And yeah, and then we're going to get to our video. Some announcements, though. Next week, we are going to be headed to BajaCon. BajaCon is held up in, is it Sarnia? For some reason I was thinking Serena, and I was like, nope, we're not in Handmaid's Tale. Yeah, Narnia. Sarnia, we're going to be up in Sarnia, Canada, and then we are also going to be going to Niagara Falls, because we're just like a few hours away from Niagara Falls. So, we're going to see Vice Rhino, yeah, among... in person amongst a bunch of other awesome creators at BajaCon itself. And so yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of shit next weekend, so we won't have a stream. I'm so sorry to say that, guys, but we won't have a stream because we're going to have to leave out on like Thursday. A little video things on TikTok. Okay. Yeah, I mean that would probably be a good idea. So if y'all want to go to TikTok, I don't know if y'all are on the Clock app, but if you are, it's just Godless Engineer over there on TikTok, and I'll probably be sharing some things over there. Of course, you know YouTube does have a shorts like feature. I could do shorts on here. Okay, so either TikTok or on here. Although, it would be awesome if y'all did go and follow me on TikTok, I'm just saying. Tonight's beer, though, is Voodoo Ranger. Y'all can't really see it because it's see-through. It's a ghosty one. Voodoo Ranger Tropic Force. It's a tropical IPA. I don't normally go for IPAs, but they were in the Tall Boys. Like the Tall Boys section. I've got multiple Tall Boys with me. Anyways... So we're going to be going and doing that next week. And also, if you want to take part in tonight's stream, if you want to have your opinions heard and voiced while we're going through the different topics that we're going to be covering tonight, which includes Christian nationalism as far as the news section is concerned. And then we've got, you know, the reasons for giving evidence. If you want to have your voice heard in that, please consider sending a super chat. You can also join here if you would like to support our efforts in entertaining y'all every single week. Well, hopefully we'll get back into every single week kind of thing. But if y'all would like to support us here, you can become a member on the channel here. You can become part of the Skeptic Mafia. The Skeptic Mafia gets to choose the video that we review on Friday nights, and they also get to you know, leave a comment on the video that we will go over at the end of the video. So, if you want to have your voices heard, those are the multiple ways in which you can do that, and it is very much appreciative if you do help support the channel here. All right, all of the boilerplate shit out of the way. Y'all ready to get into the news? You're ready? Now, I try to pick news that maybe y'all haven't heard. I try to find interesting news, but I've been on this really big kick about fighting against Christian nationalism. And a lot of the Christian nationalism stuff is very much a mixture of both politics and Christianity. So that's probably what the news section is going to be until after the election, if not even after that, depending on how the election goes. So I hope y'all are ready for my attitude ass, because I know I am. Today I Oh, that is awesome, honey. It's so awesome the way that I play the ukulele. Yes, it being super twangy and out of tune makes it so much better. I agree. Do you want to get on the mic for this news segment tonight? Because I feel like you're going to have a lot of opinions. I mean, that's up to you. I always leave it up to you as to whether or not you want to be on the mic. It's a lot of Christian nationalism, and you have been going through Project 2025. Yeah, you're fine, though. Yeah, you got to get set up. I got Casey a new mic arm so that she doesn't have to fool with the stand that sits on the desk.
Yeah, now I have a spinny arm that like hangs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fancy.
And it sounds better.
Yeah, it does.
I think so.
Okay.
All right. So I hope you guys are ready for this. Very interesting topics tonight. I got to get my very minuscule notes pulled up because I'm really just going to be responding to the videos as we play them. So first up is this jackass right here, white Christian nationalist pastor Joel Webbin, seen here having a wet dream about installing a Christian theocracy in America. You have been blessed by Christ. Now go forth and suck my dong. forcing a Christian theocracy on America, recently suggested that democracy is bad and only allows us to devolve into more and more degeneracy. I'll let him tell you for himself, though.
Okay.
Also, I want to say Doubtful Form, thank you so much for the $5. Everybody put some emojis in the chat for Doubtful Form. In Sarnia, keep an eye open for 18-wheelers missing the stopped lineup for the cross border bridge. Fly safe, drive safe. Yeah, we're definitely going to be driving. We love taking driving trips just across America and shit. One time we almost got killed in, what was it, Iowa? By deer?
Twice in Iowa.
Twice in Iowa, deer tried to kill us. Deer were out for our lives, but luckily I had the fucking driving skills of John Wick, and I was able to dodge them.
Also, welcome back, Cadence.
Yes, welcome back, Cadence. I didn't see Cadence there. What up, Cadence? I'm so glad to see Cadence back in the chat. All right. So let's get this up. Thank you so much there, Doubtful Form. We would definitely drive safe and everything like that. All right. Get all of this over here. Okay. All right, so here, this is from Right Wing Watch, and this is kind of an old interview that he did, but I feel like it's still very much, important. So it's about a minute long. I'm gonna let it play as much as I can.
If you're not a member of the civil magistrate, but you are a citizen of these United States or whatever country you're a part of, if you have a voting mechanism, as we currently do, by God's grace, I hope that one day we don't. For the record, people are like, he's against the 19th Amendment. No, I think there's a lot of people that shouldn't be able to vote, besides just, as it pertains to the 19th Amendment. Democracy has not been great. Part of the reason things get worse and worse and worse is because of democracy. It's, you poll the degenerate peanut gallery, and what you get is further devolving into degeneracy.
Well, you promise them more ways to indulge in their degeneracy.
Well, you have to.
And then they put you in power, and then you give that to them.
That's
and then you
the
have
only
to give them
way
more
you can win in our current
Yep.
system.
I promised you guys.
Sorry, that fast forwarded.
We got a new member.
Cadence says, "I am alive." Oh man, it really is good to see you back there, Cadence. Glad to see you back. Okay, so basically, what Matt Walsh. That's Pastor Joel Webbin. Okay. He's been a pretty big topic of conversation because he's very much a white Christian nationalist. He was the pastor that was like totally horrified by finding that there were like non-white people that lived next to him, and also people that that aren't Christian and don't worship Jesus Christ that live next to him. Yeah, he was like, so like, they don't look like me. They're invading our neighborhoods, and they're not. And he's basically like, they're not white. They're not Christian. And he was like totally freaking out over it. And he was also the pastor that was like, oh, how am I going to explain different races to my children and different religions to my children?
A bizarre thing.
Yeah, it was very snowflakey and dramatic there.
He did give me something I really do like though.
What?
Degenerate Peanut Factory.
Degenerate Peanut.
I think I'm going to change my Twitter name to Degenerate Peanut Factory.
But anyway, so apparently democracy is bad, according to Joel, because Joel here thinks that it just sends our country deeper and deeper into degeneracy, which basically just means equality, I feel. Like, you really have to think about what they're actually talking about and kind of translate it from white conservative Christian talk to, like, normal language. And so what he's talking about is just people getting, equitable rights and having equity in general. Other races and religions existing around him, like that's degeneracy to him. Obviously, the LGBTQ population is also very offensive to him, but as we've seen, other religions and other races are also very offensive to him. I doubt that the race part would matter too much if they were Christian. I think that the main part really is they're not Christian. And he associates that with their race, I guess, is how I've taken his other clips. But Pastor Joel here, being a white Christian nationalist, thinks that democracy is bad, and he hopes to get to a point in our in the future to the point where we don't need to vote. There is no vote, and it's just a Christian theocracy where a Christian is always at the head of power. And Christians control everything that happens in this country, and there is no vote because the Christians decide what is best for everybody.
Don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that neither. Like, how far down the rabbit hole do you end up going? Like, do you go all the way back to pre-1865 where you can own slaves? I feel like that's probably where it would end up there, Joel. You fucking white Christian nationalist shithead. Doesn't he look like he'd be sitting at a bar drinking the most expensive, like, craft beer and negging on the girl beside him?
No, he can't afford expensive beer. Looks like he'd be drinking, Natty Light. He looks like a Natty Light
He's a Natty
guy.
Light motherfucker? Is that what you're saying, honey?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's a Natty Light kind of guy. I can see that. I can see him being a Natty Light kind of guy.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to be it for Pastor Joel Webbin. You should definitely consider the impact of white Christian nationalism as we move forward in this election season. Christian nationalism has taken a forefront at it. Now, I know that Donald Trump has, I'm trying to think of the word, he's denounced Project 2025.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. But if you compare Agenda 47, which he's actually changed, I did find the original Agenda 47 videos, which do not exactly correlate to his new Agenda 47, but
they just change their position, whatever's convenient at that particular time. It's no big deal.
Right. They wrap it up in a pretty bow so that most people will agree to
bow. It just is a bow.
It's a less shitty
ribbon,
bow,
I guess.
But Joel Webbin is a key figure to really focus in on because he represents how worse it can be. Or not how worse. He represents how bad it can be, and we definitely don't need to go anywhere near that vicinity of his ideology. So I think that's very important. Next up, election interference. Who doesn't love election interference?
Apparently everybody.
White Christian nationalist Joshua Standifer, he's not pictured here, but he's definitely behind that voting booth, totally not being weird about it, is suggesting a rock-solid plan to steal the election for Donald Trump. And I'll just let him lay it out for you. And, I mean, I'm not even joking about it. It's literally a plan for Christians, like in the United States, to steal the election for Donald Trump.
Isn't this the thing they complain about?
Yes, honey, okay. This is the very thing that they complain about. Okay. That's right.
Okay.
I promised you guys an action plan on how to do it. And we spent months calculating and creating, meeting with experts, something that we felt like could take Christians and put them in a place of influence. Just imagine, it's election night. Chaos is happening. The polls are closing. They go and the volunteers are getting kicked out. But what if we had Christians across America in swing states like Wisconsin that were actually the ones counting the votes and making sure it was happening?
I have to ask right now, what would be the benefit to primarily Christians working the election centers and counting the votes in this particular election? What on earth could be the benefit to the Conservative Party?
I mean, I'm still stuck on his thing where he was like, imagine if Christians had some influence. What? Are you shitting me?
Well, so
they already do.
Well, they already do.
They get special treatment from our government all the fucking time because almost our entire government is made up of Christians. This is ridiculous.
Right. But you also have to understand how you have to translate in your own mind what they're saying into what they mean. And so what they mean here is, because most of the time Christians are going to be working the polls, they're going to be counting the ballots and everything like that. Like for the majority of people in America, they are Christian, right?
Well, yeah. Plus, a lot of polling places are at churches. Who do they think is volunteering for that?
Right, exactly. And but that's my point, is that he's not emphasizing Christians, just any Christians.
Well, I mean, sure, because, you know, there are plenty of Christian liberals.
Right. So you have to ask, well, what kind of Christians is he talking about? Because he must be talking about a more specific kind of Christian than what would be working the polls and have been working the polls since, you know, forever. And that would have to be these Christian nationalists type of Christians. And Christian nationalists that don't mind fudging the numbers for a certain candidate. That, at least, maybe that's just my speculative assertion about what he's talking about, but considering all of the information, it definitely sounds like he's talking about having Christian nationalists working the polls, counting the ballots, so that they are in control of who wins the election, especially in key swing states.
I mean, none of this surprises me.
Yeah.
So, I want to introduce you to our program called Fight the Fraud, How to Become an Election Worker in 4 Easy Steps. Now, this program right here, it takes 15 minutes. And it doesn't matter if you struggle with technology or if you're absolutely awesome at it. It's super easy to do. And here's the cool thing about it. A lot of people don't realize this, but in Wisconsin, you can get paid to be an election worker. So listen, are you guys ready to make a difference? Are you guys ready to get off the sidelines and make history this November? All right, everybody get your phone ready. I see some are jumping the gun, but look, I've got a QR code for you right here. This is totally free. Everything we do, we're a 501c4 nonprofit. This is a free course. And the cool thing about it is that in 15 minutes, all you do is step 1, register to vote. And if you're not, we help you register. Step 2, you select your state. And then after you select your state, we connect you with your local municipality to apply to be an actual election worker. Now, if you're wondering, well, I'm a poll watcher or a volunteer, here's the difference. At election night, what happens is when the polls start to close or chaos unfolds, they're going to kick the volunteers out. You are actually going to be a paid election worker. You're going to be trained by your local municipality. I call this our Trojan horse in. They don't see it coming, but we're going to flood election poll stations across the country with spirit-filled believers.
This is so fucked up.
What on earth could be the problem with this fucking plan right here? See, listen to his language. That they're going to kick the volunteers out, right? Who was it that got kicked out in the last election that they made such a big dust up over when they were counting the ballots? Like in Arizona and Michigan, Wisconsin, and all those places. They kicked out the volunteers. The Republicans volunteered. They were volunteer poll watchers. They got kicked out. So you know what? They've smartened up. And they're like, we're all going to become, city employees, basically, and poll workers. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be the ones counting the votes, because then we're not going to get kicked out. And, I'm not saying that he's saying manipulate the data.
No, but why would you? Okay, if he just meant count the votes legally and do everything normal, like a normal poll worker with nothing shady as shit, why are you a Trojan horse?
Yeah, that's yeah.
It's the I don't know if it's a dog whistle, but it's just those little language. It's the little language cues that he uses, where it's like. He doesn't come right out and say, we're going to count extra votes for, Trump. But why would you say you're a Trojan horse if you're just a regular election worker working? I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with Christians being election workers. I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
I mean, I don't have a problem with anybody being an election worker. But why is it different than everybody else?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, last time their big thing was like, oh, the Democrats flooded the polls with fake ballots, right?
They didn't, though.
I know they didn't, but they think they did. So you get these Christian nationalist poll workers in these key swing states, and then they count like a majority of Biden votes as fake votes, and they only count the Trump votes, like all of them, as real votes.
Well, it lends itself to biases if they fill the whole place with a specific type of people with a type of bent, then you run the risk of especially if they're doing like signature comparisons, they can just, oh, this person voted for Biden. Look, that signature doesn't look like what it should look like, in my opinion. And then they hand it over to the next person who's checking it, and instead of that being just some random person, you've got a Trojan horse, and they just don't count those.
Right. They're like, I agree, this is a fucked up signature.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is the plan for how they want to steal the election. And honestly, like, I don't know if they're going to get enough people to actually do that, but I really don't know how to combat that. Like, I feel like the way to combat it is to get people in the local government, like in the state government, to recognize that this is the plan.
Well, somebody from wherever he's from should be showing this to their local government. Don't let this guy, right. This guy's a problem, and be wary of a whole bunch of people who signed up right after this service on whatever date this was. Like, I would definitely report, like, I would make sure if I lived wherever he lives.
Well, I mean, it did say that scanning that, and I guess getting the app or going to the website, you sign up through the website, and then they connect you with the municipality. Like, is there a way that they can just totally reject, like, from that particular organization because of the stated goals of it?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what legally can be done about this, but this is a very worrying, like, thing. Like, I am incredibly disturbed by, this quote unquote Trojan horse. So basically, I feel like a lot of the white Christian nationalists that are voting this election season are definitely ramping up their efforts to actually commit voter fraud. Like, they really want to, and it's not the voters that are going to be committing the fraud, but the poll workers. Like, they are going to be committing the fraud. What's to stop them from committing this fraud? And I mean, they're hiding behind this shield of Christian nationalism in order to, get away with doing this. But I mean, I don't know how you fight against this kind of bullshit. If you cast a vote and your vote isn't counted, what are we supposed to do? That's kind of my question. Not saying that you should be apathetic about voting. You should still go out and vote, no matter where you are.
You can check to see if your ballot was counted.
Can you?
There are I think every state has a website where you can go and put in your voter ID number and check to see if your ballot was counted or if there were any issues.
Interesting.
I don't know if every state does that, but I know that some states do. I would think every state would.
If you need help, like looking that up or finding that out, or if you want to find that out, you can always, comment here on the channel or email either KC or I at john@godlessengineering.com or KC@godlessengineering.com.
But maybe that's only, I think that would only be able to be if you mailed it in. I think that because when you go to the polling place, like, you give them your information so they know that you have voted, but your ballot isn't, like, it's not tagged to you.
Right. I know here in Alabama it's not tagged to you.
So I don't know how they would do that for voting in person. Anyway, maybe that's, I know that there's a way to check in Georgia because they were talking, I remember last election they were talking about that, but that might just be for mail-in.
I would think mail-in would be easier to check than actually at the polling places. But if you need any kind of help at all with voting this election season, and you don't want to ask anybody else, I mean, I'll do my best to help you out. All right, and then finally, did y'all know Christians ended slavery? And it was only because of Christianity that slavery was ended.
Really?
You can't tell, but that's a plantation that I've got set behind this little fuckhead back here. Which, by the way, this fuckhead is white Christian nationalist Tim Barton. He's seen here realizing that he can just whitewash history as long as people don't really question him about it. He claims that Christians and Christianity is the only reason why slavery was abolished in America and abolished so quickly in the world. And I'll let him tell you for himself.
The reason America overcame some of these evils faster than virtually anywhere else in the world is because there always were people with a moral foundation. And what's
I just have to push back right here. America was actually trailing behind the effort to abolish slavery. And like the first known instance of slavery being completely abolished in a country was actually in France. Very earlier in like the 18th century rather than the 19th century. So, I mean, it definitely wasn't because of like Christians or Christianity or that the United States somehow being based on a Christian like religion or anything like that is the reason why we ended up like abolishing it. Like, that had some influence on it, like but it was more about how some people interpreted their religion rather than the religion itself advocating for it, you know?
Explain the slave Bible. Like, explain they're the reason and the slave Bible to me at the same time. Make it make sense. Make both of those things live in the same universe. And then we can talk.
Yeah, because, I mean, the slave Bible was a Christian effort in order to indoctrinate slaves into thinking that they should be slaves.
And they took out all the parts about freedom. They took out all the parts about, you know, rising up or anything about, they took out all the parts about like the Jewish people, Israelites going free, breaking free from their masters and all those things. Like, they took all that out so that they wouldn't know about it, and then left all the shit in where it's like, you need to...
Slaves obey your masters.
Yeah, obey your masters. Like, they left all of that in. So make it make sense to me that those are the people who created a special Bible for slaves so that they wouldn't know about the freedom parts. And then also you're the reason that slave got abolished.
Right. Not only that, but at the very beginning of the Atlantic slave trade, you had Christians that were using the Bible and concepts of Christianity in order to suggest that people that were in Africa deserved to be enslaved, or that it was theologically okay or correct to enslave people from Africa because they were a nation that was near Christian nations. They were not Christians themselves. And God said that you can procure slaves from the countries around you. So, I mean, it's definitely Christianity that fueled the Atlantic slave trade. And then there were, separate from that, there were people that took hold of abolitionist ideas and made their religion work for them, right? They made their religion fit into that narrative. So it wasn't the religion that changed or anything like that. It was the people that changed and reinterpreted their faith to be abolitionists. So he's just totally wrong here, but we still got about 50 seconds left or so.
Actually kind of fun. As a person of faith, I can look back and point out virtually every leader of the movements against these atrocities, whether it's slavery or Indian relocation or anything else you might name, the leaders fighting against those evils to put a stop to it, it was always Christians.
Yeah.
It was pastors. It was churches. It was people of faith motivated by the morals they learned from their faith to work to put a stop to it. And this was another reason people used.
Well, with the exception that you can't use this as evidence that it was Christianity or people of Christian faith to stop it, like as if that's the defining trait, because as a defining trait, Christians were the ones enslaving people. Christians were the ones on the other side that were also making the arguments as to why they should continue to be able to own people as property. So it's not the defining trait. The defining trait is the people that were reinterpreting their religion to be abolitionists, because at the heart of it, they were abolitionists. and they can't reconcile their non-abolitionist faith with their abolitionist ideology. And so it wasn't Christianity, it was the people. The people were different. The people were the mitigating factor in this situation, not Christianity.
To know that America had this Christian foundation and Christian beginning because it was the influence of Christianity more than virtually anything else that helped America do the good and that led the movements to stop the bad. That was really who America was.
Wow.
Wow. That definitely wasn't who America was. Who America was at the time was very racist, definitely employed chattel slavery. I mean, if you look at any information from this time period, people only sought to free the slaves, like a majority of the people, common people, only sought to free the slaves so that they could end the Civil War. Like, they didn't want the war to continue. So they wanted to free the slaves because that would end up ending the war. And that's how it was portrayed to them. And so they were all about ending the war. They didn't care so much about preventing people from being owned as slaves. Now, that's not to say that everybody had that mindset. I'm just saying, like, a majority of the common people, that's where their mindset was. There was definitely, a group of abolitionists that definitely wanted to end slavery because they felt like it was morally reprehensible. I totally agree with that, but that group wasn't solely made up of Christians. That group was made up of not only Christians, but also more secular or deistic or people of other religions. So it wasn't Christianity itself. It's just this innate knowledge that people came to that owning another person as property is not good. It is horrible. It's deplorable. So, and that's where white Christian nationalists want to send us back to. I mean, they're not saying, hey, we should own people as slaves now, but definitely in their unregulated capitalist society, people are practically treated as slaves on occasion. Usually the lower class people, which of course white Christian nationalists are going to associate with like minority groups and everything like that. But it's not just minority groups, obviously. So this fuckhead right here thinks that Christians ended slavery, which that's not an untrue statement. Christians were part of that, but it wasn't only Christians, and it wasn't because of Christians that slavery was ended in the United States. So he's just fucking wrong about that. Well, that's going to be it for the news tonight. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it, honey. We do have comments to go through. Are y'all ready to get to some comments?
I'm ready.
Casey's ready and my banjolele's ready. Yeah, perfectly out of tune. Comments of the day. Prepare to face bomb yourself into next week. What? Really, it's really awesome? It's really awesome. I know, honey. It is really awesome.
That's not what I said.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
I heard awesome. What did you say?
I said you're awesome.
Oh, thank you. See, I didn't hear anything weird. All right. So, like I said, that's it for the news. Now we've got comments to go through. All righty then. First up in the comments, we've got Marathon Made Galatians 5 through 22. I don't know what that name's supposed to mean, but anyways. Hey there! We do have scriptures for Jesus, though, but with a question mark. We don't have scriptures for Jesus. I mean, we've got gospels and everything like that, but all of that's not historical. It's all based in either visions or scripture. So, I mean, like scriptures for Jesus, these scriptures that I'm talking about as far as the Gospels and Paul goes are reinterpretations of Old Testament scripture that were not originally about Jesus, but that they reinterpreted to be about Jesus. So, I mean, they're not like about Jesus in the same way that he's meaning that they're about, or that they are meaning about Jesus. Although the biggest empire in the day turned to Jesus, the Romans. Okay. So what? I don't care if the biggest empire turned to Jesus. That says nothing about the truth of the religion. That just means one person in the government was convinced, and then he convinced everybody else, and then they mandated it. Like, that's not proof of truth at all. The archaeological evidence for Jesus, though, there is no archaeological evidence for Jesus, I'm sorry to tell you. And even the stories in the Bible, those aren't true either. I don't understand this video, but I appreciate you seeking and asking questions. Well, I mean, I'm glad that you appreciate me seeking and asking questions, and I do have a lot of questions, and I frequently ask a lot of questions about it, and I would love to hear good answers, but I just have not heard any good answers yet to convince me away from my currently held position that he probably didn't exist. Honestly, there's a YouTuber call. Here, I am Lord, send me. He can answer in depth all these things, friend. I hope you find Jesus on your journey. Where's Jesus? Is he behind the green screen? Is that where Jesus is? Is he behind there? Maybe he's wherever this lost cat is on this thing. You're clear. I think KC found Jesus behind the green screen. Hold on. Oh no. Oh no, we got Jesus. I found the Jesus. Jesus was. Hello, fuckheads! Bow to me and suck my dick, or else you're not getting into the party in heaven. I see you over there. Not sucking my dick.
Rude.
Marathon here needs to mind his own fucking business. Booyah. Thank you, Jesus. I hope you'll come back one day. Anyways, all right. Thank you, Marathon. And I will keep seeking Jesus, even though that's probably not going to help.
Jesus was behind the green screen.
Jesus was behind. We did find Jesus. That's right there, hon. Next up, it's Toddcast over there on Instagram, I think, maybe. It looks like Instagram. What's in the Communist Manifesto? Because I heard that's the Biden-Harris plan. It's just a secret, though, so they'll deny it.
Oh, my God.
I haven't heard anything communist-y from Harris at all. I don't know what this person could be talking about. I mean, it just, like, when they say these kinds of things, like, it's really stupid. Because, like, when we talk about Trump's plan, his Agenda 47, and the conservatives' plan in general being Project 2025, we can literally point to the pages that they put out themselves and be like, see, that's what they want to do. It's right here. They're fucking telling you. And then we get people like, well, they want to be communism. And it's like, you don't know what that word means. You just don't. Anyways, they laugh and then they say, here is the problem for everyone who posts this as a truth to scare their voter base. You can post anything, but anything you post should be questioned when it's pure exaggeration. Well, when we talk about how the conservatives want to move our society to the point where nobody has to vote and that they are in charge all the time, that's literally what they're telling us that they want. And Donald Trump recently, I don't know if he let it slip or whatever, but he basically told the Christians, just vote for me this last time and then you won't have to vote again. What could that mean other than he wants to set up a system where nobody has to vote and that the conservative Christians are in control all the time? What else could that mean? Anyways, Trump has repeatedly said what his plans are, and this Think Tank 2025 plan isn't it any more that Biden and Harris want to follow the communist agenda. Well, you see, here's the thing, is that nobody that wrote the quote-unquote communist agenda worked on the Biden-Harris campaign or in the Biden-Harris White House or anything like that. And the difference here is that in Project 2025, like 240 of the people that contributed to Project 2025, its creation, brainstorming sessions, if you want to call them that, 240 of them were part of the Trump administration or the Trump campaign in some kind of respect. So there's a clear connection here. You can't get around it. I don't know why you're trying to get around it. You're just fucking out of the loop, Toddcast.
Because it's inconvenient.
It's inconvenient for them. That's right, honey. It is fucking inconvenient for them, and they're just willfully being uninformed. Like they're willfully not actually informing themselves about the current socio-political climate. Next up is Rescue Dad X3. Over there on Threads. If you guys don't know, I'm over there on Threads, but you know, whatever. Jesus alone is the way. All other religions are wrong. How do you know that there, Dad? I'm just kind of curious because like I feel like this is a situation where it's like, but Jesus was in fact not the only way. There are multiple ways, like as far as like leading your life, living your life, or anything like that. He's talking about Jesus is the only way to get to heaven, but even in that respect, that's not the only way. Obviously, secular people don't think about heaven because we don't believe in a heaven, but there are other religions that definitely provide ways in order to get into heaven in their own particular religious observances. So, I mean, he's just wrong on a number of counts here. I think that this person actually ended up deleting this thread because it was too fucking dumb. But, you know, whatever. Next up is Mr. Rick Hunter. He's got a question for liberals saying, "Dear liberals, I have a question for you. Do you actually personally know any conservatives? Do you really believe that they are as horrible as you say they are?" Well, some of them, right? I'm not going to blanket characterize all conservatives as being this way. I think that there are a number of conservatives out there that have been not necessarily brainwashed, but they've definitely bought into the pretty packaging that a lot of conservatives dress their statements with, and that, you know, that or they're not up to date on what the current rhetoric is coming from the conservative crowd. And so I don't blame them at all necessarily, but there is a segment of conservatives out there that know what they're talking about. They know what the plan is. And are they as bad as I claim them to be? Yes, they definitely fucking are.
I feel like at this point, if you still support Trump, there's enough out there about him, and he's not just about him, but that he's shown everybody things that he said and things that he's done. If you still support him, you're a shitty person. Zero exceptions. No. Zero. In my opinion, I know that not everybody feels that way, but there's enough out there about him. You know the kind of person he is, and if you support him, you are a shitty person. Mm-hmm. And I make no apologies for it.
I wouldn't apologize for it. I mean, I feel like anybody that's supporting Donald Trump right now does have to make a few concessions in what I would consider to be a good and moral foundation to live your life. And you have to definitely compromise on a lot of things, which in turn makes you kind of a shitty person. So, I mean, I totally agree with you there, hun. Continuing on. Have you ever just taken the chance, sat down, and just talked with them? You might be surprised to find...
We got a new member!
You might even... you might be surprised to find that they are actually human beings just like you.
They're human beings, sure. But they're not just like me.
Nope. They not like us. They not like us. Mm-hmm. You might even be surprised to find that they are exhausted and scared. You might even just discover that they're a lot like you after all.
They're not. They're scared of stupid shit like fucking pronouns. They're idiots.
Well, not just pronouns, but just words that describe common things that we experience in society now, like sexual reproduction or reproductive rights, gender. Like, these are just words and topics that they're literally so scared of, they want to strike them from the government. Like, they want to lock up educators. I don't know if y'all know this about Project 2025, but they want to label all LGBTQ material. That would be stories including LGBTQ characters, as well as any kind of sex education material whatsoever. They want to include that as porn, and they want to lock up anybody distributing those materials. And then they also want to register educators and librarians as sexual predators.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. They want to register them, like on the sex offender registry.
They're afraid of a person whose last name is gay. Who isn't even gay. Just their last name is gay.
You know, I feel like if he sees the name gay on a book, then he might get the inclination to suck some dick. And I just don't like that. It makes me uncomfortable.
I mean, these are the same people that are fucking scared of Nikes and Keurig machines and Bud Light. Like, they're not serious people.
But Mr. Rick Hunter, yes, I've sat down with conservatives, and what I have found is that most conservatives don't really understand the context or the full breadth of the topics that they're talking about. They don't understand what positive contributions the Biden-Harris administration has made to American society. They don't understand what Harris's platform is, and they don't understand how horrible of a person Donald Trump is. They just have this blanket idea that everything was better under Donald Trump when it really wasn't. Next to last, or actually, no, this is the last comment. We've got Living Legend here that says, I'm convinced that y'all really hate the thought of Jesus, and that's why y'all get on here and bash Christianity. I don't hate the thought of Jesus. I hate what people that adhere to the Christian religion do with this idea of Jesus. They want to portray themselves as living like Jesus or caring about what Jesus would want or what Jesus would do, but they really don't. They don't care what Jesus would do. Do you think that Jesus would be sitting here today, modern, contemporary Jesus, and he'd be like, you know what? That's a man in the boxing ring beating up on a woman. You think he would be sitting there, like, doing that, and then going to Twitter, because that's a cesspool, going to Twitter and being like, oh, the fucking trans person and boxing at the Olympics, it's not part of my particular society or my particular nation, but rage bait! You really think Jesus is going to sit there and shit on another person for having some kind of, like, a genetic disorder or anything like that? Like, in any kind of situation that it actually is, you think Jesus is really going to sit there like this wholesome Jesus that y'all portray him as, this Jesus that loves everybody, that tells you to love your neighbor as you would love yourself and all this other shit? You think he would sit there and, like, shit talk somebody on the internet? I don't think so. I feel like that's your prejudice that's using Jesus like a fucking puppet. Like,
convenient, huh?
Let's get Jesus up here himself. This is gonna seem kind of ironical, but I am not your fucking puppet for your fucking bigotry, bitch. But yes, Jesus loves you, y'all. Just saying. Anyways, that's going to be it for the comments tonight. Are y'all ready for some Brocephus?
I'm ready for Brocephus. We haven't seen him in a while.
I know.
I'm so glad he's home.
I know. He was like on travel or some kind of shit.
He was on vacation for a while.
He was. All right. If y'all are ready for Brocephus, I'm ready for Brocephus. Hey, Brocephus!
Shitty ass science! We're gonna answer some science shit really wrong.
Is he coming? Hey,
I'm here.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right. I mean, I just woke up and I've been drinking a little tonight.
Are you happy to be home?
I am happy to be home. I was traveling a lot, spreading the good message of Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh. Did you take the puppet with you?
I did not take the puppet with me, but I had Jesus in my heart the entire fucking time.
Yeah, okay.
I don't have my normal shirt on tonight. Sorry, it's in the fucking wash. It's get in, loser. We're going to die of dysentery, just like Jesus Christ did. All right, what do we got tonight, y'all? Let's see. Scoliosis that begins in puberty is not hereditary. Well, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've heard. It is caused by lying to one's eyes, and it sends the wrong signal to the brain. The spine is connected to the brain, which is connected to the eyes. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes, knees and toes. And they fuck up your knees too. If I look at KC cross, my knees get all out of whack.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. This is some dumb fucking shit right here. There is no connection, obviously. God did not make us this way, and y'all should fucking know this shit, right? God didn't make us with this. Like, I get it. You atheists out there like to say, God's not a perfect designer, but he's not this fucking dipshitty of a designer right here to connect the eyes. Like, if you go cross-eyed or something, y'all can't see my eyes, but y'all go cross-eyed or something, your back's not going to get out of fucking whack, right? So, you know, Oh, he left this here for me, didn't he? Okay. So this is pretty fucking stupid. Obviously, I feel like God has designed scoliosis to happen to, teach people important messages about striving for perfection or something. I don't know. Honestly, I can't really explain scoliosis. I'm going to feel terrible just trying to even fake it.
It's a curvature of the spine.
It is a curvature of the spine. I knew somebody with scoliosis growing up. Did you ever have to go to those scoliosis clinics when you were in middle school? Maybe that was just me in Alabama.
A scoliosis clinic, but they did tests for scoliosis in the locker room and gym. Like they had somebody come to the gym.
Oh yeah. So I don't know about y'all, but what they did was they was like, all right, turn around and bend over. And initially I was like, I don't know, coach. I don't think I should bend over and show you my bunghole like this, but okay. And so I bent over. And they looked at the alignment of my spine. If it was all fucked up, then I'd have to wear like a back brace. I knew somebody that wore a back brace. And felt real bad for him and everything. But anyways, scoliosis is pretty shit. And I feel like if you go to most Christians now, they'll be like, well, that's because of the fall of man. But, that's kind of dipshitty and everything like that. Obviously, it's because of Satan. Satan has afflicted you, and you just need more Jesus Christ in your life. And also a back brace. And that'll get you squared away. Or they have surgeries now. Like if it's really bad, they'll just do a surgery on you and they'll fix you right up. But ultimately, it's God. I'm just letting y'all know, like it's definitely God that fixes your shit whenever shit gets fucked up. I'm just saying, like pray to God, suck his dick, and also seek that medical attention. Okay?
Can you get God to fix GE's pancreas? Can you do that for him?
No, the pancreas is out of God's wheelhouse. If somebody has a broken pancreas, they just need to get like an insulin pump. Is it made of iron? No, it's not made of iron. God just don't give a shit.
Oh.
I mean, if you got a broke pancreas, then you got a broke pancreas for a reason.
But not scoliosis.
No, not scoliosis. Nobody can fuck up their back like that. But I mean, you can fuck up your pancreas by like being born to the wrong person. What?
Is cancer in God's wheelhouse?
You know what? We're going to end this right now. I'm getting called off stage by my team over there. And I guess that's all that we got for tonight. Y'all have an awesome weekend and everything like that. I'm going to go to Canada with these fucks next week. And I'm going to preach the good word of the Lord to the heathens up there in Canada. Bye, y'all. Go to hell or something.
There's no team, just so everybody knows. Brocephus
There's no what?
There's no team of people. Nobody's calling you. You're just uncomfortable.
No, my production team is calling me being like, oh, we got to get you off here, sir. They're asking too many fucking complicated questions.
Oh, you mean like Trump at the national...
No, not like Trump, but I mean, Trump did get called off.
Well, yeah.
What do you mean my shirt's all fucked up?
What? I mean...
You said that like right into the mic, so, thank you for fixing my shirt for me. Okay, see, I'm going to go and I'm going to finish drinking.
Oh. You finish? There's a finish?
Yes, there is tonight.
Oh, okay.
Finishing it with some whiskey.
Oh, okay.
Hi, heathens. So yeah, obviously, if you have scoliosis, God is not going to fix it, and it's also not caused by having a weird look on your face. You look at someone cross, it's not going to cause your back to go all fucky. This person thinks it is, but Facebook allows them to post this shit, so, you know, I feel like I shouldn't get, like, demonetized or anything. Am I demonetized? Monetization. We're not demonetized yet! Woot woot! Let's go. Not demonetized. Alrighty, heathens. Well, that's going to be it for Bursevis' TED Talk tonight. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I know he did. I mean, what he remembers of it, probably. Now we're going to be going on to the video. I do have to get it set up real quick. Huh? You done?
Yeah.
Okay. Casey's done because we're done talking about white Christian nationalism. He's like, fuck the rest of this bullshit. I don't want to hear it. Yeah. All right. Welcome to the main part of the show. Hold on. There we go. Welcome to the main part of the show. I hope that you guys have enjoyed it so far. If you will, please send a super chat if you feel so inclined. I really appreciate it if y'all would. Mark Fernkoff earlier, about 10, 11 minutes ago, said, my mom thinks that Harris wants to take away our red meat and make all theft less than $1,000 legal. Republican rhetoric is insane. I don't know where they would be getting that. Now, I have heard like Trump and other maggots out there say like pretty crazy shit about the Harris platform, but I feel like the way that I would interact with that, not saying that you should, but the way that I would interact with that is that I would just ask for evidence. Like, can you point me to the evidence that she said this? If she said these things, then I totally disagree with those particular positions. But even so, I feel like the threat of losing our democracy is greater than, you know, the things that are listed there. Paper straws. Well, the red meat thing, I wonder if that's talking about the food pyramid or the food recommendations. Yeah. So the recommendations are just recommendations that are put out. It's not like a law by the FDA. And so it's not like Kamala Harris has said, I fucking hate red meat. Nobody eat it again. Like that's not the situation. The FDA, a whole organization within the government, did research or whatever, and they put out new recommendations, which limits the amount of red meat that you eat, which I feel like it's always been limited. It's just a different kind of limitation, I think now, like more. Yes, and it is still just a recommendation. That's right. Anyways, let's get to these 3 reasons as to why you shouldn't give evidence to an atheist. Eat red. Casey said, "Eat red meat every day, you carnivore sexuals." Can you imagine a MAGA person with their Trumpy bear and the red MAGA hat, and they're like bathing in like New York strip steaks, and it's like, you're not gonna take my red meat from me, and it's just like, you know, you're just, I don't know. That's where my head went. Anyways, let's get to the video.
This is Darwin to Jesus. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to talk about a subject that's been coming up a lot lately: evidence. Recently, in one of my videos, I mentioned that Christians should not give atheists evidence, and atheists are really up in arms about it.
Well, yeah, I can understand why. Because, like, as an atheist, I'm not looking to disprove people about their beliefs, right? Like, that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is find good evidence that I should be persuaded away from my current position. I want evidence that's gonna convince me that I'm wrong about something, so that my worldview can be more representative of reality. That's what I want. So when I ask you for evidence, I'm asking you for evidence because I want to see if that evidence will convince me away from my currently held position. Because I want to be more correct than not, right? And so that's why we ask for evidence. It's not to dunk on you or teabag you with fucking Sam Harris's nuts. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just legitimately trying to figure out the truth of reality, and we want your evidence for why you believe what you believe.
After listening to their responses, I decided I would elaborate on why I said this and why Christians shouldn't be giving atheists evidence. So here are 3 reasons Christians shouldn't give evidence to atheists.
And here we go.
The first reason is because of the framing. In any disagreement, the frame is incredibly important, and both sides are trying to assert their frame, their view of the topic, onto their opponent.
So, like, I wonder if this person means that atheists are trying to recenter the topic onto real shit. Like, the real way the world works. Focus on reality as opposed to non-real shit that exists in the supernatural realm. Like, if your frame doesn't include fucking ghosts and like magical incantations that change shit in reality, then apparently it's the wrong framing. I hope that I'm wrong about where he's going with this, because I've only watched this enough to know that like to know that I want to respond to it. So I'm hoping that he's not like, you need to expand your frame to include magical incantations that definitely change shit in reality. Like, no amount of poetry is going to cause anything to happen, like, in real. Like, I can't recite a poem and fucking create a small puppy in my living room. Like, that's not what happens. Similarly, to put it in a more, I guess, comparative analogy, I can't say a magical incantation and find my magic, my fucking keys. I was going to say my magic keys. That would be awesome. Yeah, if I could just say, find us my keys, and then like I find my keys, like that would be awesome for me to do. Or wallet, sunglasses, yes, all of the things that my ADHD seems to make me lose. Yes, that's right. Like if I could recite some kind of incantation and they just sort of present themselves to me, that would be fucking awesome. I don't see any difference between that and between that or saying a magical incantation to forgive you for your sins. I don't believe in sins, and I also don't believe that you can pray to some crucified Jew to make your life better, and your life automatically gets better because you prayed to a Jew. Like that I just, that's just not something that I'm ever going to comprehend.
From the outset, the atheist frames the conversation as if they are genuine seekers who will change their minds if you just give them good evidence.
Yeah. I hate that label, the atheist, too. It's kind of distancing language to me, it seems, because it's like they're trying to distance themselves from the humanity of the person that they're talking to. But in any case, I'm legitimately trying to find evidence that will convince me away from my position. Like, I'm just telling you, like, I'm genuinely wanting this evidence. I'm genuinely wanting to be convinced of something that's more true than what I currently believe. So I do want the evidence. It's not my fault that you don't understand what fucking evidence is.
This means that if you accept their frame, then they get to decide if what you have presented is good evidence or not.
Huh? Yeah, do you want to get on the mic? No? Okay. So as far as like what is evidence, or the criteria that we use for considering something evidence, I feel like that exists outside of ourselves. Like that is something that we, like humans in general, have decided is evidence, like the criteria for evidence. It's not my personal definition. This is just a definition I agree with. The evidence has to support the claim. If the evidence has unfounded ad hoc assertions as part of its statement or proof or anything like that, then it's going to be weaker than a hypothesis that doesn't contain those things. Like, I feel like this is very basic, like, reasoning here as far as evidence goes. So it's not me dictating what is evidence. It's just what everybody agrees is evidence. That's what I'm using to determine what is evidence. So it's not my personal definition. Acting like it's just my personal definition as to what is evidence, and therefore I can reject any evidence that you provide, is just ridiculous.
If they aren't convinced by your evidence, they now get to claim you have not had any good evidence. Sound familiar? If it isn't now...
Well, right, not any good evidence. Good evidence would be evidence that proves your conclusion. If you don't provide evidence that proves your conclusion, then you don't have good evidence. Does that mean you don't have evidence? No. I mean, you have evidence that convinces you, right? Like, that's evidence for you, but that doesn't mean that it actually is like evidence in the sense that it should convince anybody, or that it's good evidence that proves your conclusion. So, I mean, there's just a little pedantic, like, I guess, vocabulary here as to what constitutes as evidence. We're not saying that you don't have evidence. We're not saying that you don't have evidence. We're saying that you don't have good evidence that supports your conclusion.
Now clear why this is a problem, I'll explain further. Firstly, the atheist is not open-minded. Anyone calling themselves an atheist has a position and a strong bias, whether they admit it or not.
Wow, what a fucking dick. What? Oh. Right. Casey makes a good point that Christians are the ones that come in with this predisposed bias for what is evidence, or what they consider to be evidence, or what they believe and what they expect out of reality. And I feel like a lot of Christians out there project onto atheists this idea that we're not open to evidence, or that we have somehow sequestered the idea of evidence or the idea of truth into whatever we would accept. That's simply not true. We're not trying to sequester anything. We're just trying to get good evidence that doesn't have any ad hoc presuppositions attached to it that actually prove the conclusion that you're coming to. Like, that's just simply it. We're not manipulating anything. That's what Christians do.
Secondly, this framing allows the atheist to have complete control over what is considered evidence and who wins the argument.
I mean, as far as like in a one-to-one discussion, and you're not like doing some kind of professionally moderated debate or scored debate, then yes, it is definitely at the behest of the person that you're trying to convince as to whether or not you convince them. Like, if you present evidence and they're not convinced by the evidence, then, I mean, that's just the situation. Like, we're not trying to say that, you know, you don't have evidence. You obviously do. It's just not the kind of evidence that would convince us. Like, I feel like he's definitely portraying atheists in a negative light, obviously, but he's also projecting his own insecurities of his own position onto the atheists as if we're the perpetrators of this. We're fucking not.
If you buy into this frame, you have no power in the conversation. The atheist is judge, jury, and executioner, and you're going to get the axe.
That's a bit dramatic. Like, I mean, seriously, your head's under the axe because you can't convince somebody of your shitty position. Like you can't seriously compare it to a beheading. Like, you're not being persecuted. And I would bet that that's a Christian executing another Christian in that clip. But he's portraying it as somehow persecuting him for us not to buy his bullshit evidence as being proof of his position. It's not persecution for your evidence not to convince me. I'm just not convinced, you dipshit.
That's why they love asking for evidence and trying to get you to talk about it. It's their favorite game, don't play it with them.
I mean, it's not a game, it's just like having an informed discussion. Like, that's not, I don't see that as a game. Like, I play Diablo 4, that's a game. Asking you questions about why you believe in what you believe and why you believe it, that's not a game to me. I'm just trying to figure out, like, the truth of reality there.
The second reason we shouldn't give atheists evidence is because it's not biblical.
Well, honey, did you know that it's not fucking biblical to give evidence? Isn't it part of the Bible where it's like you should be able to defend your faith, like when people question it? I feel like that's a Bible verse. So I feel like maybe giving evidence is part of the Bible in a certain respect.
The Bible clearly says that all men know God exists. They have a conscience, and they suppress the truth in unrighteousness.
Yeah, what's that? Like Psalm 14:1 or whatever in the fuck? Yeah, I mean, your holy Bible can say whatever it wants to about me. I really don't give a fuck. What I care about is the evidence that your God has for his existence. Now, as far as Yahweh goes, like the God of the Bible, the God of Judaism, any Abrahamic faith, like I feel like I'm pretty Gnostic about that God. That God definitely does not exist. So your holy book that I don't recognize as being either holy or representative of reality tells me that I'm ridiculous for thinking that, you know, for thinking that I don't believe in your holy book is not convincing to me whatsoever. It really sounds like fucking piss poor dramatic bullshit is what it sounds like. It's like, oh, well, if you don't believe my magical handbook here, then I guess you're just fucking suppressing the truth and unrighteousness. Like, get the fuck over yourself.
Romans 1:18-20 says,
maybe it's Romans.
For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. For his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made. So they are without excuse.
That particular one really fucking gets me. Because that's not how invisibility works! His invisible attributes are clearly seen or perceived. Like, I mean, in the he's using ESV, right? But it's like the invisible attributes of God are clearly seen. That's not how invisibility works. If they're invisible, then you cannot see them. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't detect them. So, like, his invisible attributes should be detected. We can't detect that bullshit. We can't detect his eternal power or divine nature. Give me an experiment where we can detect that shit. Like, I'm not expecting to be able to see this kind of shit, right? Like, I've never said that. No atheists out there, as far as this particular context goes, should say that we expect to see this kind of shit, but we should be able to detect it. Now, he says in the ESV that they are clearly perceived. We weren't able to perceive gamma rays until so much later. We weren't able to perceive a number of things in reality until the modern era. What the fuck are you talking about with this invisible fucking attributes? It gets me so, like, my heart rate is like at fucking 133 right now.
If someone is suppressing the truth, then they don't need evidence to be convinced of the truth, do they? They need to stop suppressing the truth. When you...
Oh, okay. So, like, they don't need evidence. They just need to stop being a silly goose and just believe and accept God, right? Like, I feel like that's what he's saying. Because, like, I require evidence to believe in something. If you don't have evidence, then I'm not going to believe in it. And he's like, you silly fucking goose, just believe. You just gotta quit suppressing it and just fucking believe, you silly motherfucker. And that's just not how anything should work.
Give atheists evidence, you're accepting what they are saying and rejecting what the Bible says. This is exactly what the atheist wants. They want you to believe them over the Bible.
Why are we represented as like Senator Palpatine or Darth Sidious? I mean, like, why are atheists like the evil guys here? It's like, we're just like, hey, what evidence do you have? And he like perceives us as like having electric like bolts shoot out of our hands, be like, democracy dies with laughter. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? This is so ridiculous.
If you take an atheist's word over God's word, you've lost the plot.
Let's face it, Mr. Frodo. We're lost.
Yeah. He used Lord of the Rings. Yes, he is a dick. I think we're about to move on to point 2. That was just, or maybe that was point, I don't know. Anyways.
Third reason we shouldn't give atheists evidence is because it's futile. Even if atheists weren't playing a game, and even if the Bible was wrong and they were really seeking, you still shouldn't give them evidence because of worldviews. A worldview is a person's philosophical assumptions about reality. Our worldview is theistic. The atheist worldview is naturalistic. These worldviews affect how we see everything else down the line, and we...
If God exists in reality, and he has an effect on nature in some kind of way, then naturalism should be able to reveal God. I don't see how naturalism is, how it excludes God. Because if God has an effect on nature, then naturalism would be able to determine that effect, right? We'd be able to see that effect. Even on a naturalistic point of view, we should be able to perceive God in some kind of way. The fact that we don't is a very big indication that God doesn't exist. We don't detect fucking leprechauns as existing. We don't have any evidence that leprechauns exist. So therefore, why should we believe that leprechauns fucking exist? It's the same thing with God.
Fit evidence into our pre-existing theory of reality. If your pre-existing theory of reality is that miracles don't happen, then any evidence for miracles will be dismissed because it doesn't fit your pre-existing theory of reality.
No, the whole idea behind miracles is that it's incredibly unlikely that a miracle would happen. If you can prove a miracle happens, then it becomes part of the natural world. Therefore, it becomes detectable as part of the natural world. And we would be able to then detect one piece that should connect us to God. So we're not saying that miracles can't happen. We're saying that miracles are incredibly unlikely and that miracles have never been proven to actually happen. So therefore, anything that you claim to be a miracle is most likely not a miracle. If you can actually prove a miracle to happen, then that's going to be because it's part of the natural world, and then we would reconfigure our worldview to include said miracle as part of the natural world, and then it would just become natural. So this whole thing about, oh, here's a miracle, and then atheists are just going to out of hand reject whatever evidence you provide for it, it's because that evidence doesn't actually prove that that miracle happened, because there are naturalistic explanations for that miracle that make more sense than your magical explanation. That's what we're saying.
All evidence is interpreted through these philosophical frameworks that we call worldviews. So discussing evidence with someone who is going to interpret everything you show them through an entirely different philosophical lens is completely pointless.
Let me actually translate that for everybody right now. If you don't believe in magic, then there's no way I can convince you that my God exists, okay? You gotta believe in magic in a young girl's heart. Blah, 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 blah. You're a piece of shit.
And this is why Christians and atheists disagree about what is evidence and what the evidence means.
No, that's not why. Why we disagree about the evidence is because your evidence doesn't actually prove your conclusion. Our evidence generally is based in reality and has evidence like piles and piles of evidence prove the conclusion that that we're presenting to you. You don't have that. You have speculation piled upon speculation in order to make your case. That's the difference. You don't have evidence that proves your conclusion. We do. It's really that simple.
We have different worldviews. Now, a lot of atheists are really upset that I'm saying this.
I mean, yeah, I've been upset, but that's just because it's been, 12, 14 years or something like that? About 14, 13 years. And I've had to deal with the same shit day in, day out, every single fucking day, the same kind of fucking bullshit claims about evidence and atheists and all this other kind of shit. So I'm just a little bit perturbed, and I'm a little bit tired of having to go through the exact same conversation with a different fucking Gen Z millennial person. And it's just very exhausting. And so that's why I'm agitated. I'm not agitated that you don't understand what fucking evidence is. I'm agitated that this is the 12,369th time I've had to have this fucking conversation. That's what I'm upset over.
I really don't want Christians to listen to me, and they're even trying to use scripture to refute me. I've heard some talk about how we have...
Oh, so you mean it's not just atheists that are refuting you? It's also people in your own fucking group? Who would have fucking known that?
The Great Commission, or where the Bible says to be ready to give an answer to all men for the hope that is in you. But where in the Bible does it say to give evidence to the unbeliever? It says to be...
I mean, it talks about providing, a defense of your faith, which I would hope would include evidence. Yeah, we're just supposed to accept it. Fuck me. That's right. They're just supposed to accept, listen and believe. Listen and believe. That's what we got to chant, everybody. Listen and believe. Listen and believe. And that's it.
Ready to make a defense for the hope that is within you. But that doesn't mean giving someone evidence and letting them interpret it within their own worldview when they're just going to throw it back in your face.
Throw it back in your face? Like, this guy feels so persecuted just being a Christian. Like, he decided he was going to become a Christian, and then he's immediately like, oh, I'm so persecuted. Oh my God, how can I stand this weight of persecution just by believing in Christ in a nation that is mostly Christian and that caters to my Christian sensibilities? Oh. Yeah, if you don't want to give evidence, that's fine. The point KC was making. If you don't want to give evidence, fine. Don't expect people to believe you. Like, you just come out and be like, Jesus Christ is risen. And somebody's like, oh, how do you know that? And they're like, fuck you. I don't have to give evidence. It's like, okay, well, then I guess I won't believe that Christ is risen. You're just suppressing righteousness or some kind of bullshit like that. It's Romans 1:18 through 20:69 or something. And, they're just going to walk away like, you need help, bro. And then they're going to catch the bus to work. Like, that's just how that's going to happen.
It means telling someone why you have hope within you, what God has done for you. And the Great Commission says we are to go to all nations and to preach the gospel, not to give evidence.
So, let me get this straight. You read the Bible as saying, go and preach the gospel. And it doesn't say give evidence for it. You just have to preach to people and hope they believe you. And if they don't believe you, then they're suppressing the truth. This is all totally fucked up. Like, this is somebody that's been so indoctrinated into the faith that they cannot perceive reality in any other way than how they perceive it and how they've been indoctrinated to perceive it. But they're projecting that position onto people that are just asking them for evidence.
In fact, the Bible says not to cast pearls before swine. Another thing I've heard a lot of atheists say in response to me is that we should give evidence to any atheist who asks whether it's in public or not, and it doesn't matter how polite they are.
I mean, no, I would totally draw a line. If somebody is going to be a dick to you, then you don't have to converse with them. Like, fuck that. Whether you're atheist or Christian, if somebody comes up to you and they're like a dick and everything, I mean, you can have your own personal boundaries as far as conversations go. So, I mean, I would disagree with, you know, having to give evidence no matter how the person acts to you. Like, fucking draw a boundary. Keep your boundaries. Boundaries are important. Do it, bro. But don't sit there and act like all atheists just demand this evidence of you in such a shitty manner.
How about no? Why do you think they're saying this? Isn't it obvious? Because they don't want to act like adults and have a productive conversation.
I mean, well, yeah, you can't have a productive conversation because you won't give evidence. All you're going to do is preach the Bible at them, and then they're just not going to be interested in a conversation with you anymore. Like, if you're going to sit there and be a dick to them, don't then portray yourself as the poor persecuted Christian because they matched your energy and were a dick back to you. Like, set the tone of the conversation. Be a reasonable person. Don't be a dick. Like, that's how you have a productive conversation. But the way that this person is talking about having conversations with atheists like myself, he's just a fucking dick that wants to provoke an emotional reaction from somebody so that he can justify not giving evidence for his faith, which we're not even demanding. We're just being like, hey, if you want me to believe as you do, provide me evidence. Like, that's all that we're saying.
And because they want to win a debate in public so they can feel good about themselves. Once again, don't allow them to set terms.
I really don't care about winning debates. I mean, I've debated fucking Kent Hovind. I wasn't concerned about winning that debate. I was just concerned with having the conversation. And I've debated a number of other people. Nothing good comes from debates. I don't know why he would think that atheists just want that dopamine hit from like teabagging their debate opponent. Because it's just not what I've experienced.
So is there ever a time to give evidence to an unbeliever? Well, yes. If you're talking to someone who earnestly seems like they're searching, and you're talking to them in private, and you have a good relationship with them, you can discuss evidence. But
in this very hyper-specific situation where, you know, you're in private, and you think the person is honestly seeking, then yeah, you can give evidence. I guess he's really advocating for Christians to stop going on public forums and trying to give evidence. Like, you have to give it in secret. Like, does that not sound shady to anybody? Like, does that sound shady to you? It sounds shady to me. It's silly. It's a silly fucking thing to do. That's right, honey.
But it should be under the frame of, this is why I believe this, not, this is evidence that should convince you. Remember, unbelief.
Yeah, but I mean, you can frame it like that in a public conversation between you and another person. Like, it doesn't have to be in private. Like, that's how conversations should be framed. This is what convinces me. If you're not saying you should be convinced of this too, then fine. I mean, if you're going to call into one of the call-in shows, which by the way, I'm actually doing the call-in show, the After Dark this Sunday, and then the Skep Talk on Monday on the line. But if you're calling into a show where we're specifically asking you, what do you believe? Why do you believe it? Expect to get us to get questions about the reasons for why you believe something. But I mean, if you're just having a casual conversation with somebody, it's always in the context of, this is why I believe what I do. If you're not telling the other person that they should believe it, then there should be no problem.
Is not about evidence. It's about rebellion. So even though we have a great amount of evidence for our faith and great reasons for believing what we believe, none of that is going to matter unless the individual has a change of heart.
Okay. So the way that I interpret this, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe Casey can set me straight, but I feel like what is being said is that, well, you have to be open to believing in God or believing God already in order to be convinced by the evidence that I have. So basically, your evidence is not good enough to convince somebody that doesn't already believe in what you believe. This is like that marketing strategy where you're marketing to people that have already bought your product to reassure them about buying your product. It's really fucking weird.
So even in this sort of conversation, the evidence is just used to have something to talk about and to get them thinking. So if we are doing apologetics, what should we talk about if it isn't evidence? Well, there are a lot of things we can discuss. We can talk about Jesus and the gospel, our testimony, and we can defend Christianity against attacks and misconceptions. But
attacks and like nobody's attacking Christianity. Do you really perceive anybody as attacking Christianity? Do you think that would classify me like attacking Christianity? Critically analyzing it? Refuting? I would agree. Like, refuting Christianity is not an attack. Now, I can agree with Casey that there are some people that seek to attack Christianity. But I would definitely think that attacking would be a bad position to take, but more or less doing like critical analysis on the faith, even publicly or privately, in order to understand the faith and understand why you're not convinced by the faith, and why other people shouldn't be convinced by the like certain dubious things about the faith. Like this entire video right here is a big fucking red flag for anybody that believes the same way that this guy does.
the main thing I like to talk about is worldview. A worldview is the most important part of someone's belief system. Only one view of the world can be true at the end of the day.
I mean, I do believe in an absolute truth about reality, but I feel like that is filtered through the human experience. So will we ever know the absolute truth? There's no way for us to actually know that. So, I mean, as far as the human experience goes, I think that, there's always going to be a bit of subjectivity to our perception of reality. It's never going to be a complete view. And to expect a complete view, I think, is a bit ridiculous and is setting the bar way too high. I think that setting the bar at having a model of reality that is as close to the truth as possible, I think is a good earmark to have and is a good thing to shoot for. But that also means that you're constantly reevaluating your worldview and you're constantly changing your worldview so that it better represents reality. He wants to act like it's just all laid open right there in the Bible, and that Christ is at the center of it all, and that is the truth of reality, and that it shouldn't change. I just simply can't see that or believe that.
That view of the world is Christianity. The atheist worldview, on the other hand, is entirely self-refuting. They have no grounds for belief in morality, no grounds for belief in free will, no grounds for belief that their reasoning would be sound, no grounds for belief that the laws of logic would exist, etc. Their worldview is self-defeating, contradictory, and absurd.
How? Oh, wait, shit. That's me asking for evidence, right? Asking, like, how does it do that? That's asking for evidence there, and I'm not supposed to do that. I'm just supposed to act like the hurt, small animal and be like, oh no, everything he says is true. Ah! But, I mean, I would still ask how. Like, how is my worldview that way? Like, how does my worldview do that? I can guarantee you that everything that this guy just listed does not represent my worldview at all.
This is the last thing an atheist wants to talk about because deep down they know what I'm saying is true.
No, nothing you've said is true. It's all been projection onto the atheists, like insecurities that you feel about your faith, and then how you perceive atheists. This very bigoted and incorrect view that you have of atheists is clouding your perception of atheists.
But this is what should be attacked if you want to have an intellectual conversation with an atheist. Alright, I think that about does it for this video. I hope you found this.
Did not find it all that intriguing or enlightening or helpful or anything like that. So he said intellectual. Anyways, that's going to be it for his video tonight. And that's it for our show tonight. I hope that you guys enjoyed the show. We do have the Skeptic Mafia comments to go through, which I've got to load up right now. But all in all, I was not convinced by his video. I still feel like there are plenty of reasons why religious people should give evidence. Not just religious people, though. I feel like everybody should be able to give evidence for their particular worldview or position or anything that they're trying to convince another person of. You should provide evidence for. I think that's the way to convince another person if that's what you want to do. If you don't want to convince another person, then don't have the fucking conversation. It's really that fucking simple. Sorry, just getting to the Skeptic Mafia comments real quick. But anyways, so no stream next week. But I will be on 2 shows on the line, taking your calls. I will be sure to post them on Sunday and on Monday here on the community tab, so be on the lookout for that. Other than that, you know, I'll just be over there on Threads at Godless Engineer, or on Facebook at Godless Engineering, or, you know, on TikTok as Godless Engineer. I've been perusing a lot of the lives there. Yes, we will be recording another Project 2025 Deconstructed. Now, if you guys don't know what that is, we've started a new channel called Politics Deconstructed, and our first project, if you will, is Deconstructing Project 2025. What we're doing is we're going through Project 2025 page by page, and we're laying out all of the horrible shit that is contained in Project 2025. We feel that it represents a lot of the conservative mindset going forward in America. And I feel like people need to be educated about where the conservatives are at, what they want to ultimately remove from our society, and how they want to reshape our government. So definitely check out the Politics Deconstructed channel. KC put a link in the chat. Go over there, subscribe. It's a podcast, so it doesn't have like our faces or anything in it, but it has some nice little waves in there representing our voices. But we're talking about Project 25 and its ramifications and what they actually want to do to America. So definitely go and check that out. All of that aside, not convinced by the video, and I hope that you guys enjoyed tonight, and I guess we will see you heathens later. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens. But don't go, because we got these Skeptic Mafia comments. Pick up a song real quick. Skeptic Mafia comments on the video. How dumb do they think this shit is? There we go. All right, first off is Mark Fernkoff, 5133, says reasons not to give atheist evidence. 1, you don't have any. 2, you don't have any. 3, you don't have any. Well, at least no good evidence that supports a conclusion. That, you know, at least that. Should we be concerned what he's planning to do with this army of strawman atheists he's created? What is he planning? Picturing an army of strawmen attacking like in Doctor Who Family of Blood. He should really be stopped with his obviously nefarious strawman army plans. Does he not understand that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence? Atheists are the most open-minded people I know. Were they shown good evidence for the existence of God, then they wouldn't be atheists anymore. It really is that simple, my guy. It's just too bad you don't have any. Oh no, wait, he has evidence and he'll whisper it to you in private if he trusts you enough. Look at the trees! See, you knew it all along, and we're just suppressing the truth and unrighteousness. We all know that atheists truly know deep down that there is really no God. They're just lying to themselves to make themselves feel, make themselves believe, because they are suppressing the truth and ignorance because it makes them feel better. It's too hot to think. I got to get back to work. I don't want to. Too hot. I want it to be 2 hours from now when I'm home in the ice cold AC, drinking a cold beer, watching this amazing live stream. Where's a TARDIS when you need one? Ha! 2 Doctor Who references in one post. I love and worship the gorgeous goddess Candy Black. GE and KC need to get back on that Daily Bible podcast. I know you got the Project 2025 podcast now, which is more important. I haven't listened to the latest one yet, but soon. But no reason you can't do both. Your podcast is how so many people learn the Bible. Holy fuck, I'm rambling. It's too hot. Later, heathens. I agree. A nice cold beer would be great. I gotta wait till I finish, though. Trickster, who says, oh my God. How do you get so much wrong in less than 8 minutes? If you want me to believe in something, then you're going to need to bring some evidence. You will not change my mind. The evidence will. Throughout this video, all I kept thinking was, why are the Christians so violent? Really? Chopping a guy's head off? What the fuck? That was my first thought too, though, Trickster. The Bible says it's not evidence of anything. He says atheists want you to believe something, but in reality, atheists don't really care what you believe, but hope you would use some rationality to come to what you believe in. Yeah, I mean, I guess all of my comments were centered around this idea that we were engaging in a conversation and he was trying to convince me. I literally don't care what you think unless you're trying to pass laws in our government to force me to think what you do. That's the only time that I will go out of my way to like do something. But ultimately, I really don't give a fuck as to whether or not Christians believe in a magical resurrecting Jew. Like, I really don't. People ask questions because they want answers. If you don't have any answers, then maybe you should just stay quiet. In the end, he uses the cop-out of worldview, not even realizing that a large portion of the world does not even hold his worldview. Oh, well. Do all the things, hit the like button, and make sure you give some affection to the subscribe button. And if you're feeling really adventurous, put a finger on that join button. Give a little nudge, wink, wink. Say no more if you want to know. And always remember, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Peace out and stay sane. Thank you so much, though, Trickster. I appreciate you. Mr. Handcheck says, wrong, wrong, wrong. Why is he so wrong? Well, we can't always be right like Miss KC, at least most of the time. P.S. When will we have the next Bible podcast? I got to really know how I'm going to be able to be burning in hell next. Yeah, we need to get back on it. We've been focused on Project 2025, but hopefully we can get back to the Bible podcast soon. Tomato Go Zoom says, this dude is just tomatally wrong on evidence. Not providing evidence to an atheist is a red flag. It's important to let ideas grow in fertile minds. Without evidence, your argument is just half-baked sauce. Sharing evidence is the best way to let others pick the ripest conclusions. Avoiding evidence is like dodging the sauce. It's crucial to salsa. Your points are with solid evidence. Without it, the conversation turns into a puree of baseless claims. Now time for some ASCII, which is... I'm not sure what that is. Looks like a tomato. Is that a tomato? I bet you it's a tomato. Let us not forget the vine of truth is that evidence is the root of any good discussion. Without it, we're just tossing around empty claims like arugula in the wind. Sorry for all the tomato puns. I just felt inspired for some reason. Anyway, make sure you leave a like, go subscribe, do all the YouTube things, and if you're feeling especially charitable, join the Skeptic Mafia today, where you'll get a different perks. List the perks here. Right now, primarily the perks are, I let you pick the videos we cover on Friday nights. You get to comment on the video, and there's a special hangout that I usually do every month. Maybe there's a podcast every month, the Skeptic Mafia podcast. We've been really heavily focused on like Project 2025, so we haven't really been doing that much. So, I mean, yeah, there's the perks. And as always, remember, Casey is always right, even when she is wrong, and eat your goddamn fruits and veggies and drink some water, you heathens. Your favorite tomato signing off. And that's going to be it. that's it for the comments. That's it for the live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it tonight. I know I did. Appreciate all of the super chats that people gave us tonight, from Doubtful Form, Cadence, and Mark Fernkoff. Thank you guys so much for doing that. And, we're going to record a Project 2025 this weekend. And I guess we will see you heathens next week. Well, not on the live stream. I do have some fresh content that's going out on Monday, and then we'll probably have a clip on Wednesday. But, we'll have some fresh stuff coming out for you soon. I'm going to be on the line on Sunday night and on Monday night. So definitely catch me out there. I will be sharing that on the community tab on those days, so definitely check me out. I will see you heathens later. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.